All right, thanks, you guys. So, just to go ahead and get started, I'm going to tell you that, right out of the gate, that this presentation is going to be a little bit informal. Um, by its nature, someday will be a nice polished stone, but at the moment, because this is all fairly new for us, and we're going to be running through some things that, in Campaign Builder and so forth, it is all at this point just a little bit informal. So those of you who've been on calls with me before, you know that sometimes my dogs bark in the background. You just never know what's going to happen. But for those of you who have not been on a call with me before, my name is Kim Snyder. I'm the founder and CEO of the API Guys. I want to thank you so much for being here. I'm going to go ahead and well, if I can get all my screens working, I am anyway. Hang on one second, you guys. I told you it was going to be informal. Just got one screen there we go, that's not working. So here's my question for you guys to start with. Can you tell me what is the most valuable commodity in the world? Would anyone like to take a guess? What is the most valuable commodity in the world? Do you think it's gold, silver, what? Well, I'll tell you what it is. Actually, it's time. And the reason is that you can always make more money, but you can never make more time. It's the one thing in the world that we can never make more of. For me, as a business person, I think this is probably one of the most important concepts. It has to do with a mindset of abundance as opposed to a mindset of lack, but it is also very, very practical. You can always make more money, but you can never make more time. So at the API Guys, we solve the problem of wasted time. We can't help you make more time. I wish we could. But what we can do is find ways to free up what you have so that you can use time for its highest purpose. And what do I mean by that? Well, what we do for businesses is we call it small business optimization. And the goal of small business optimization is more profit with less effort so that you can spend more time on what is most important to you. That's what I mean by time's highest purpose. And for all of us, our time's highest purpose is going to be different. That's a very individual thing. But we want to help you build a well-oiled machine so that you can spend your time on whatever that is. More time building your business, hanging out with your family and friends, pursuing a hobby or sport, taking vacations, donating time to your homeless pets, or whatever it is for you that is your time's highest purpose. And to do that, I've developed 4 key areas that I think you need to focus on in order to maximize the time that you've been given. And the first one of those is, and I'll give them all to you actually first. It's eliminate, delegate, automate, consolidate. Eliminate, delegate, automate, consolidate, in that order. So I don't have time to go into all of those today in depth. That's if that is something that interests you, by the way, I will tell you how to do those things is going to be covered in great detail in our podcast, which is going to be launching soon. I don't have the graphic for it yet, but it's called Small Business Automation Today. So make sure that you're on our mailing list or that you've liked our Facebook page, which is the API Guys, so you can get in on that. And that is hopefully going to be launching here very, very soon. But let me briefly explain these 4 before we get into some of the rest here. So eliminate is the first one. And this is really based on Parkinson's law. In 1955, Cyril Parkinson published an article in The Economist, which included a mathematical equation describing the rate at which bureaucracies expand over time. And you'll be familiar with this law. It takes many forms, including the old adage that work expands to take up the available time. The actual name for that is Parkinson's Law, and it's based on his 1955 paper. There are other corollaries to that law, which we experience today. I'll just tell you, my team is probably still scrambling in the background. I know, not still. I know they're still scrambling in the background. One of the corollaries. One of the corollaries to this law is things that have a deadline get done. So we've been working on Pocket Developer for literally months, right? And as soon as we set the deadline for this this webinar, all of a sudden you can't imagine the mad scramble that was literally happening up until the minute we went live. So that's all, our own. We're experiencing Parkinson's Law right here. So that's funny. There is also Tim Ferriss's idea, minimum effective dose. This is the idea that if water boils at 212 degrees, getting it any hotter is just wasted effort, right? So in order to earn more with less effort, then what we have to do is we have to regularly and purposefully engage in a process to eliminate all those tasks that have quietly and surreptitiously crept in and are like raising the temperature of water to 215 degrees. They provide no benefit. So that's what I mean when I say that the first step is eliminate. It means really, literally getting rid of those things that aren't providing adequate value, or that really should have never been in there in the first place. Automate is the second. This is the thing that we're going to spend most of our time on today. The idea here is to look at the tasks that you do or that are done within your company or your household that need to get done, so they weren't eliminated, but find the ones that can be done by software. And if you'll remind me, I will show you as we get into Campaign Builder the process that we are working on for ourselves called Automate Us. That's our internal name for it when I demoed Pocket Developer. And I'm going to, I'll just tell you, I am an Infusionsoft certified consultant, and I'm going to lift the kimono, so to speak, and you're going to see like actually this campaign is kind of messy, but it's because we're working on it actively right now. But I'm going to show it to you anyway, because I think this is actually campaigns like this, even though we're in the middle of it, are never done. It's a never-ending process. And by the way, one of the things that I hear a lot is, how do you find time to work on your own business, particularly when you're in the business of doing this for other people? And my best tip for this is, if you're a consultant in particular, is at the end of the day, you're going to have to treat your internal projects like client projects, or they are never going to get done. That is what we discovered for ourselves. Okay, so I'm going to come back to this automate, because this really is where we're going to spend all of our time. But let's talk about delegate. The first step here is to find the person whose highest purpose it is to do each task. Okay, that's really what this is about. Find each person whose highest purpose is to do each task. And so this is really much broader than my catchy little term would indicate. Just as an example, I very often catch myself writing code or solving a problem on our website. And while I can do those things, they are not the highest purpose for my time, right? Other things are my highest purpose. Now, they are always going to be, well, if they got through the first two phases, they are going to be someone else's. They are going to be the way that someone else can bring the highest value to the company. So our job in this stage is to find who is that person. And that person may not be inside your organization. That's the other trick to it. And in this day and age, right, that's the interesting thing. We really have to shift our thinking about this, because with marketplaces and outsourcing and virtual assistants and on-demand services and all the things that have really come to fruition in the last couple of years, we really have to, used to, we had 3-4 people, we had a list of things that had to get done, and we doled them out to the people in our organization. That was it. But those were the people we had. Didn't matter if they were the best person to do the job, if they liked doing that job, if they were the, whatever, right? That's how we did it. But in this day and age, that is no longer the case. The deal is to find the person who is best at doing that at the right price, and shifting that to them. That's what we mean by delegation. And then finally, we've got consolidate. And consolidate is really, this is the last step. So it's whatever is left, we try to either time shift tasks so that they can be done at the most appropriate time. Or so an example, for example, would be taking processes that are done once a day and doing them all at once for the week. Instead of 5 times, you do them once. It may be as simple as making all of your phone calls while you're driving, for example, things like that. And there's more to it than that. But our major focus here, as I said, is automate. And the purpose of automation is not only to shift the tasks being done by humans to software, but it's also to eliminate friction. And actually, I'm gonna actually stop here, and I'm gonna mention our giveaway, because if you got our emails, my emails, I did promise prizes. So there are a few, but the first one is this one. Since we're on the topic of automation, I am going to be giving away 1 year of Zapier's basic plan. Zapier's basic plan does include Infusionsoft and all of the other premium apps. And if you are unfamiliar with Zapier, let me just see a show of hands from, I know there's a bunch of you guys, but those of you, can you please tell me in the question box really quickly, how many of you are, what is your familiarity with Zapier? Use it, heard of it, don't use it, never heard of it, or, really totally unfamiliar with it? Okay, keep going. Use, okay. All right, keep going. Okay. All right, I'm still scrolling. Awesome. So really across the board. Okay, most people have heard of it. Quite a number use it. Some of you already have it. That's awesome. And many are using it. Few have never heard of it. So Zapier, I sort of call it the poor man's API. It is a way of automating your business processes by hooking all the different apps together without knowing any code. So where Pocket Developer, which I'm going to show you this afternoon, is all about really mostly internal to Infusionsoft and Campaign Builder, Zapier is mostly focused on hooking different apps together. So your Gmail with your Infusionsoft, with Google Calendar, with Podio, with whatever, they all hook together. And it's very handy, just like Pocket Developer, and can even be used in conjunction with Pocket Developer. And at the price, you really can't beat it for a number of the more basic tasks. In fact, I'm going to be doing a course on how to use Zapier and another app, which is called IFTTT, which stands for If This Then This. As in using those as part of your automation strategy, that second step, and I'm going to talk briefly about that a little bit later on. But anyway, here's what you need to do to win 1 year of Zapier. What you need to do is you need to go to the API Guys Facebook page, right? The API Guys. You're going to leave a comment. It must have the hashtag of Pocket Developer to be considered. That way I know you were on this webinar. And what I want to know is, what is the highest use for your time? Right? What do you think is the highest and best use of your time, and why? And I'm going to give you a couple of days to post the comment at the API Guys, and then I'm going to award the free year of Zapier. It is not random. I'm going to choose. So I'm going to choose the comment that I think best exemplifies this concept of understanding best and highest use of your time. All right? So enough about Zapier. Enough about them. Let's talk about me. No, let's talk about Pocket Developer. Okay. So I mentioned that this is the public unveiling of Pocket Developer. Pocket Developer is, something that has had an interesting evolution over time. What Pocket Developer does is it solves literally, and this is not hyperbole. This is literally hundreds of everyday Infusionsoft challenges within minutes and without knowing any code, so that you can earn more profit with less effort, which is what we are all about, and invest that extra time in things that are the most important. That's the whole idea. So in case you didn't get this example, which some of you did, here is an example. The other day, yesterday, 2 days ago, actually. So we published the first email in this webinar campaign, the one that sent you your first email and said, hey, we're doing this webinar. Do you want to jump on? And I'm going to show you that campaign here momentarily. And the issue is this. The webinar information wasn't getting from GoToWebinar to Infusionsoft fast enough before the confirmation email fired, right? So what we had to do is we had to put a 15-minute delay timer between your registration when you filled out the form and when you got the email. Oh, I don't want or need to wait 15 minutes. A minute or two would have been absolutely more than sufficient. Actually, probably a few seconds would have been enough, but there is no 8.6-second delay timer, right? And so this is what I mean by everyday Infusionsoft challenges. And most of us who work in Infusionsoft all the time for our businesses realize that almost every time, for me anyway, I open up Infusionsoft, I run up against one of these challenges, things that I want to do, but I can't do, or I can't do them as effectively or efficiently as I want to. Like a 15, I can, right? I could solve that problem with a 15-minute timer, but 15 minutes is too long, right? You expect to get your confirmation email quickly and not in 15 minutes. So what we do at the API guys in order to solve these problems is we build these things that we started calling building blocks, which obviously come from this idea of blocks of code, right? And we do that because by building these blocks, instead of reinventing the wheel every time, it saves us time and it makes us money, which is what we are all about. And the reason for that is because building blocks are reusable, and moreover, they are reusable in every app. Our app, our sandbox apps, our clients' apps, our employees' apps, by all of our people, not just the programmers, in a million different ways without touching the code. And we have bunches of these blocks, as you are about to see. And so as we were going along, actually, really, it was at InfusionCon. Quite honestly, Andrew Wills, our Chief Technology Officer, and I were at InfusionCon, and it really started. I mean, we kind of knew, but it really dawned on us then that, you know what, everyone would probably really like to be able to solve problems in the way that we did, just that quick without having to know code. And so what we've created is, we like to say, is an Infusionsoft code vending machine. It's one that spits out our reusable pre-made API building blocks and, as you're about to see, installs it on your server for you almost instantly. And we call it Pocket Developer. So let's take a look here at Pocket Developer. I am going to get out of that and show you Pocket Developer instead. So probably shouldn't be on that page. All right, so there we go. This is our store, our Pocket Developer store. It's brand new, by the way, literally. Okay, you guys, stop working on this. So the way you get here, just so that you know, by the way, is if you go up here to API Development, click on Pocket Developer, or this menu here, Pocket Developer. Either one of those will take you to this page. It's the APIguys.store. And what you will see is that we have a number of different building blocks currently. And I will tell you that all these were really originally intended for our own internal use. And they all are they all work. We have them all, but in terms of like having them all perfectly documented and so on and so forth, that they are all in various different states. So, which is going to mean an opportunity for you a little bit later on in this presentation. So we categorize our building blocks into different sorts. So we have what we call basic building blocks. And basic building blocks are those that do one specific thing. Now, they do them in many, many ways. These things are highly configurable, as you're about to see. But they do one thing. So, for example, this particular block, right, can find any opportunity based on any kind of criteria you can think of. Pick out that opportunity or opportunities and move them to any stage, right? That's what it does. But it does it from Campaign Builder in a way that is really unique. Basic math, add, subtract, multiply, divide. You can read these combined fields. That's fairly obvious. Some more of our basic blocks. The counter, creating a note. Now, why do I need to create a note? I can do that in Campaign Builder. Nope, not with merge fields, not including any field from anywhere, including opportunities, companies, orders, invoices, referral partners, so on and so forth, right? That's kind of the key to all of these, is that they also make all fields available to you basically without having to know how to code, and allow you to merge them and do things with them, manipulate them. So creating a note with merge fields, we're going to see the custom delay timer here that we just built in a minute. In fact, I'll just spill the beans and tell you I'm going to give that to you free for today and show you how to install it for being on this call. Last purchase amount, last purchase date, file uploads, number of purchases, prepending notes to purchase notes, saving an ID somewhere. Again, all IDs. This is really handy. Tags on the fly, meaning as part of, and this, I'll tell you where this came from. So for those of you who have hundreds and hundreds and or thousands of products, or maybe you do tons and tons of events, right? It's a pain to set up all those tags and categories each time for each product. So actually in Campaign Builder sets them up on the fly based on different criteria that you tell it. If it exists, it creates it and applies it. If not, it just applies it, things like that. So these are what we call our basic blocks. Then we have, so these blocks are core building blocks. Now these blocks are amazing because basically with these 4 blocks, I can rule the world, literally. These 4 blocks are almost literally a developer in your pocket. Now, so we call these, any date, any format, anywhere, sort of makes sense. You'll see that in our webinar campaign when I show it to you. Any text, anywhere. Contacts company, which what that one does is it adds a new company from a name and a company field if necessary. It actually adds the company if necessary, and then links the contact to the company and does some other things as well. And then field math. So basically, if you want to think about it this way, this works with text, with date fields. This works with text fields. This works with numbers, right? And with these 3, because of how they are configured in the advanced notation that we've created, and the ability to pass information from one to another, it really is kind of like having a developer in your pocket without having to know any code whatsoever. And then we have these, which are really cool too. So this is something that is totally missing in Infusionsoft. We call these listener blocks, and what these really are, sort of, is they're like goals, but they're not. They act like goals, but they're things that we've hacked so that when a new contact is created, you can trigger an API goal in Campaign Builder, and then whatever is behind that API goal starts, right? So you can now trigger sequences because a new contact is created, or because when a new invoice is created, or a new opportunity, or a new order, or a new referral, or you can just kind of randomly trigger an API goal, which effectively kind of creates essentially a 100%. Well, but when I say randomly, I really don't mean random. I mean at any future date and time, which can be calculated off of from either text or a date time field. So you can do some pretty cool things with that. So we call them listeners. In a way, they are goals in that they will trigger an API goal instead of a goal that doesn't exist currently in Infusionsoft. And then we have listeners with filters. These are just the same as the other ones, except this allows you to filter them. So for example, let's just say I only want to trigger my goal if this new order that came in has a certain product on it, for example, or if this referral was from a certain referrer, or this opportunity has an owner of John, or what have you, right? You get the idea. So that's what we mean by filters. So it's listening for something with filters. And then finally, we have what we call integration blocks, which are they work with third-party apps. So that's how we think about and organize in our head our blocks. Now, as you'll notice, almost all of these say coming soon. There are a few of them that are fully baked, Any Text Anywhere and Field Math being the two main ones. And Any Date is like remarkably, really, I just haven't sat down to do the most of these are done, really. I just haven't sat down to do the documentation on them. Some of them are kind of a little rough, but that's why they all say coming soon. But as I said, this is going to be a huge opportunity for you if you're willing to put up with the fact that they are still a little rough and coming soon. So let me show you these and just in context, so that you can see kind of what I'm talking about here. I'll tell you what I'm going to do first. Actually, why don't remember I said that you guys are going to get the custom delay timer for being on this call. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to take you through the process of installing the custom delay timer on your server, and then show you how it works. And then we'll look at some of these other ones and how they actually are employed in campaigns, and what they can do for you. So let's just take this custom delay timer. And what you're going to do is you're going to click on it. And rather than a buy now button, you're going to click this free download button, because we made it free for you. And we literally just did this to Carlos. I shouldn't say we. Carlos, our lead developer, put this together for you guys last night or 2 nights ago. So I'm going to say complete install. And when I do that, it's going to come on. There we go. So it's going to sit on this page for like 10 seconds. It's got to do some stuff, okay? And then very shortly here, it's going to redirect. All right, so this is what we call our portal. So it just logged you in behind the scenes with this portal. And let me make this bigger so that you guys can kind of see this. And you'll notice here that what it just did is it gave you a project here. If you had bought others, they would be listed here as well, right? And what you're going to do is you're going to hit configure and install. Now, it's going to, it's got a little demonstration about Pocket Developer and how it works. And by the way, let me just show you guys. This stuff is, in fact, give me a second. I will show you really quickly, because I just can't help myself. On our website, all of this stuff, if you go to the Learning Center and you go to documentation, here's a quick start guide for Any Text Anywhere, Field Math, Advanced Merge Field Notation. So the ones that are completely finished, this is where the documentation will be. And these demo videos, if you click on them, you will, I believe, find, no, that's just the quick start guide. Oh, it's in, actually, I know where it is. You can't get to it anymore because I got rid of that page. Never mind. Actually, it's only here on this. I'll have to put that actually on a page in the in the documentation section. But anyway, that's where you're going to find all that stuff is on in the Learning Center on our website. So here's the demonstration about how to install it and all that kind of good stuff. And it's going to tell you what you need before you start. So you need two things really. You need now you've got to have your FTP credentials, and we have a also in the Learning Center a guide to, if you don't know how to find your FTP credentials of your server, how to find them, how to get them from whoever your host, wherever your website is hosted. That in the beta test seemed to be the thing that created of everything the most issues for a few people. And then your Infusionsoft application and API key, we've also got things in there about how to find that. But I'm going to take you through the configure and install. You probably want to find those things before you start. So what it's asking me for is my FTP server, which for me is trainandsimple.com. I leave that port, my username, which is Kim Snyder, my password, which I'm not going to tell you, is that. And then I say next. Now what it's actually doing is it's testing right now. It just did actually my FTP to make sure it could get there and write to it and all that stuff. And since it could, it came to the next one and said, all right, tell me about Infusionsoft now. So you give this a label. I am going to just label it my app name. I hope that's right. And put my app name again here, which is what it's asking for. And then my API key goes in here. And I say next. And again, what it's going to do is it's going to be testing that and checking, assuming it can connect and do everything. What it's now doing is configuring and installing that on my server so that it can be used. Now I'm going to, and you can see it's done, right? It's also saying here that you can download the quick start guide right here, right? As well as hopefully it will be sent to you. Let me show you really quickly. Okay, let me show you in my FTP server, which is here. I wish I could make this bigger for you guys, but I can't. So let me go to the beginning. So this is the server that I just put in, trainandsimple.com. And where I just was, it installs it actually in a folder called scripts. You really don't need to know this. However, I'm showing you so that you can see that it did in fact install it. Pocket Developer is the next folder. Then you go in blocks, and if I hit refresh, there you will see it has added something called custom delay, which is the block that I just added. Okay, so that's all. It configured everything that you need there. It's configured the ISDK and the connection to Infusionsoft and all that mess. Okay, and it's put it on your server, and basically that you don't really need to know anything else about that. It's done. All right. So how do you use this thing? Or these things in the case, as the case may be. So I'm going to go here, and I am going to go. So this is where we actually test Pocket Developer blocks, but I'm not. We're not going to do that right now. Let's just go to something a little bit more practical, which is Automate Us. So. You guys, don't judge, okay? It's a mess. So, well, let me just talk about this campaign for a second. So what we're trying to do with this campaign, among other things, is to literally, we call it Automate Us on purpose, because we really are taking from the very beginning of, when somebody comes in the top of our funnel all the way through, and literally automate the entire process. from beginning to end. It sends, sending the quote and nagging people for, have you sent them their proposal yet? And why haven't you signed the proposal? Some of you may be getting some of those nagging emails right now. Literally all the way entirely through a process to the time we complete a project for somebody to, this is custom development work, to the time that we ask you for a testimonial, and then 30 or 60 days later say, hey, is there more work we can do for you, etc. So there are some pieces of this that actually are not quite done yet, but that's what this Automate Us is about. So you just ignore all that part. But here's the this is what I wanted to show you. Can you guys see this? So this is actually the campaign that you got. Okay, this is you all are in this campaign, and so this is probably pretty standard stuff here. I don't think there's really anything in here, other than emails. So ignore that. Okay, here's the form that you filled out, and this is what I want to show you. Starts here. Okay, so what you'll notice is that we have 5 blocks here. I feel like this could be bigger, but I guess not. So we have a GoToWebinar block. We're going to apply some tags. We have 3 date blocks, and we have a custom time delay block that I just gave you. Okay. So just to show you how these work, and there's a bunch of interesting things I want to show you. So this is the Pocket Developer GoToWebinar block. Now again, this has been installed on our server, right? And so there's a URL where you can reach it, which is that, and this is all in the documentation. In this case, if those of you who are used to working with plus this, actually, so these things in the HTTP post are kind of like the things that you would put in plus this or in Zapier. Only because we're doing it as a post, they are much more flexible. We can allow you to put all kinds of crazy things in here and do all kinds of crazy things. This is really pretty straightforward, but what this did is this registered you for a webinar. And then of course saved it back to your contact record. Now, so when I say that we can do cool things and that these things are amazingly flexible, let me just give you an example. So like this GoToWebinar block, for example. Well, yeah, pretty straightforward. It registers you, this action, register, is what you would expect it to do. It registers someone for a webinar. But that same block with that same URL with some different parameters in here, for example, can pull all of the webinars that you have scheduled, and so that you could display them on a website, as an example, all of them, so that people could see your upcoming schedule, right? Or this exact same block can check attendance afterwards, right? With a different action, which you're going to see. So by it, it's the same script, it's the same post URL, but simply and this is simple stuff, right? By simply changing these things up, then you can use it in all these different ways. So that's the GoToWebinar block. Now you'll notice we have three date blocks. Now these are separated because this is the easiest way to understand them. But truth be told, these could have been, I'm going to light some people's hair on fire. These actually could have been chained together in a single block, which is like really crazy. A couple. Well, I will get to I'm gonna get sidetracked if I answer these questions on the fly. So for the moment, I'm gonna keep going, even though I'm really tempted to answer a bunch of these questions. So let me just show you these as separate. But the answer is yes, these can be used on any app. Once you put them on your server, you bought it. You own it. You can use it on any app that you want. All of your clients. It's also completely open source. You can modify it. You can do whatever you want with it, which makes us very different from a bunch of other of the providers who charge a monthly fee. So here's our any date, and I love any date because what any date does is basically we're saying, all right, so take that date that we brought back the webinar date from GoToWebinar, and in this format, which is a very simple format you can look up on a website that PHP uses, which is immensely flexible, right? We can then write it to a field. So you can, with this format, you guys, like, you can do things like, say, 2 weeks from today, and it will understand that. You can say webinar date minus 2 hours, and it will understand that. And that's because we're doing PHP for you without you having to know PHP, basically. I'm showing you some of the really basic stuff, but it's actually really quite amazing what you can do with it. So here's that's one block. Now, again, as I said, you could have just chained this all together in a single block, but in our case, we put them in 3 different ones because then it's really easier to understand. So now here's where we put your webinar time. We used, again, the same block is doing multiple different things. And here's where we put it in a way that in a field timer so that we could run the field timer sequences off of it. This is something we get asked for by tons, by the way, and of course, charged clients money for a long time because everyone wants to be able to run field timers off of their appointments, just as an example, right? All the things that Time Trade and stuff does, and Time Fusion, and then here's our custom delay block. So in this case, how simple is this? What you do is you create a API goal, you give it a name, in this case, PD Wake Up 23521. You do want to use unique API goals, or else you could get some really kind of crazy consequences, but tell it how many seconds you want to delay for, in this case, 60 seconds. Right? And I'll show you how this delay. So we stick this at the end, 60-second delay. And then you'll remember that we told it that we were using an API goal. Well, here's that API goal sitting right here with that name of PD Wake Up 23521. So in 60 seconds, it's going to trigger this goal. And that's your delay. That's your custom delay timer right there, you guys. Like, how super ridiculously useful is that? Like, it's one of those V8 things, like, well, why didn't I think of that before? But I didn't. So anyway, there it is. That's your delay timer right there. And then I don't know if we have any more of these in here, but so basically the idea is, even though you can run all of these, and this is all very well described in the documentation when we have it, you can run these things on lists. You can just pull a list of contacts and then you can save them in action sets. You can do some that wasn't the one I wanted. Well, okay, since we're here, I'm gonna so you hopefully you kind of get the idea that these things are really flexible. Now, without totally blowing your minds apart, okay? But there's some crazy ninja stuff you can do, because remember I told you, so one thing is you can, within these blocks, the way we've created this advanced, Carlos has, this advanced merge field notation. So and what you can do with this thing, for example, is you can literally pass results from one to another. So you start in a text block, and then you end up passing that information from block to block in the single post, which is really cool. But and you can do some really cool things. Let's see what we got here. Well, so here's an example, by the way, of this isn't what I wanted, but look, this one, you guys. So you put in a date and then you say plus 3 days. 3 days from this date. This could have been a merge field. I want 3 days from this date formatted in this way, and I want you to store it in this field. So that's any date. I'm trying to find an advanced notation one for you, and Carlos, if you're on the call, you can text me. This is one I'll just show you. This is actually one where it gets chained. Thank you. Any text test 2 is really advanced. You have one that's sort of like in the middle. So let me show you this. This is an example of chaining. So what this one does is this one, just again, you don't have to understand really, but this is really pretty simple, right? So what this says is I want you to get whatever's in phone 1. I want you to save it to phone 2, right? Now, by the way, this doesn't have to be contact. This could be opportunity or whatever using our advanced merge field notation. So you can, like, say, pull something from this opportunity that has John as an owner, and I'm about to show you, and has the word dog in the title of the opportunity and a stage of potential project. Filter it that way, find that phone or whatever, and then save it to this record, this field here, and then pass it from to another place, right? And then save it somewhere else. So you can. This is an example of, this is the notation we use actually to chain and pass. And again, I don't want you to like get hung up on it, other than to know the reason I'm showing you it is to know that you can do it. And then I'm going to just show you one other, which is this, which is kind of crazy. Wrong thing. And then I'm going to get out of the weeds. But like, it's like staggering to me that how much you can do with a post. The farther we push it, yep, too late now, Carlos. The farther we push it, the more we realize that we can do with it. So this is just an example of our advanced merge field notation, right? So this is saying order ID filter by. With wildcards, this has to be in the title. So find the one with this in the title, and then sort it by date created, and then bring those back, and then do something with them, right? So anyway, I'm going to stop with that. But you kind of get the idea that this does, how do I explain this? This does everything from really super simple, like I just need a 30-second delay timer, to really literally almost having a developer in your pocket. I mean, I don't even know another way to say it. I mean, it's really, that's what it does. Speaking of which, here's the quick start guide for any text anywhere. And one of the things that you will notice is that this is really detailed. And thanks, Barb Jones, for helping us with these. And so like we go through and we explain exactly how to construct all these things and how they work, and then pro tips using field math as a counter and things like that. But the documentation, I think, is really pretty good. When it's just really time consuming to create. So you can do everything from really, really, really fairly simple to amazingly advanced, which is why we find ourselves literally dragging these things out almost every time now that we open Campaign Builder. Because they're just, as my dad used to say, handy as a pocket on a shirt. So all right, so what do I need to do next? I'm going to probably take some, I'm going to take some questions, I think, at this point. And then I've got some more things to show you really quickly. But let me go here. Yeah. All right. I'll come back to this, but for the moment, I want to take a few questions because there are a bunch of them here. So let me see. Hang on, you guys. There's a ton of these. Okay. On Facebook, we are the API guys. just search for the API guys, and you'll find us. Where are we? API guys, right here. Yeah, it's just facebook.com/the API guys. And some comments about our little Pocket Developer dude. Look at this guy. Is he not the cutest thing ever? I just think he's like so precious. Can a single block be used in more than one app? I already answered that. Yes. And can you modify the config file to add additional apps or some other way? Again, this is all 100% open source. So one of the things that you may not have noticed in the store, or maybe you did, but I will point it out to you again if I could ever find the right screen. Give me a second. I just got like 5,000 windows open here. All right, I'm going to go to the store, which is here. And yeah. So like if you look at these, if I click on one of these basic 157, these are one-time purchases. So personally, I think monthly fees are evil. And the reason I think that is because I keep just thinking to myself, well, $30 here and $50 there. And I swear to you guys, I bet I don't even know what we pay in monthly fees just because I think, oh, well, what's another $20-30, right? So these are one-time purchases. You buy the code, we install it on now you do get updates for a period of time, which I'm going to talk about. However, you buy it and it is yours. It is completely open source. It lives on your server. You can modify it. You can give it to someone else to modify. You can look at the code. You can do whatever you want with it. It is yours. I am not going to control it. Open source. Okay. So again, same question. Do you have to download to each app? No, you could, good, interesting question. Do you have to know how to copy it to the right location? For example, a client's app. So this is an ICC asking this question. So, this is a decision that you have to make. It's the same decision that we make when we buy a developer's license for anything. Do you install a copy of something that you own a developer's license for on your client's apps? Or websites, or do you make them buy their own copy? I personally really prefer that they buy their own copy. Now I don't mean of this, I mean just in general. So if I own a developer's license to Gravity Forms, for example, I don't use my Gravity Forms. I buy up a copy for them because, who knows how long our relationship is going to be, and we don't want to be tied together. And then a year from now, they call me up and say, hey, my Gravity Forms stopped working, and I don't want to support that. So, but that said, this is a URL. That URL is on your website. That URL is publicly available. You can, in fact, call that URL from any app, anywhere, simply by modifying the config file as someone just asked. And we can put together a very quick tutorial for you to show you how to do that. It's literally 100 characters to modify the config file, and then you could call it for anybody's app who was in that config file. Multiple, not one. So you could have 50 clients all calling the same any text anywhere. So that is a very big difference from the way that everybody else is handling this. Another question, what is an API goal? Great question. A lot of people do not realize that there is such a thing as an API goal. So here, I'm in Campaign Builder. When I go to process in I'm in a sequence here. I need to get out of this here. If I go to goals, and I can drag out any of these, but I'm just going to drag out other for fun. And so if I click on this meta, taggy thing here, and I go all the way to the bottom of this thing. One of them is API integration, is API goal, API call is made. And if I say save, so this is a goal just like any other goal. right? Here's a tag goal, here's a form, and these are all API goals. And you call these using code. But if I click on them instead of the thing that I might get otherwise, I give it a name, right? And I can name these anything I want. So, I'm going to call this whatever. I don't know what today's date is. Test, whatever. And then when I use this name to essentially trigger this goal with a script, which would be a script sitting in one of these posts in our case, right? Now, other things can trigger these as well. These things, again, when you know a little bit about code, these become handy as a pocket on a shirt. I like that phrase. But a lot of people don't even realize they're there, and very few people use them. But they work essentially like a tag, right? So in the same way that you would tag a contact, you just ping one of these goals and woof, off it goes. So they are really, really, really handy. And so we use them for a number of things in our processes. Okay. All right. Yeah. And, so some people are, we debated a lot about, there's a question about, what if we don't allow outside FTP connections to your servers? So, there were a lot of, in fact, our original version of our quote vending machine had the ability for you to just download the packet. But we felt like that was going to confuse more people than it was going to help. And so certainly that is that's absolutely an option. If you know enough to be able to get it on there yourself, there's lots of different ways to skin that cat. So don't worry about that. All right, I'm going to keep going here. If you have any more questions, though, feel free to put them in the box here, and I will get to them in a few minutes. I do want to talk about basically the offers that I have for you guys. No, actually, you know what I want to do first, really quickly? I want to talk to you about how to evaluate investment decisions. Now, obviously, I'm going to tell you this right before. Let's not kid ourselves. I'm going to tell you this right before I'm about to ask you to evaluate an investment decision. But the reason I'm doing it is because in my experience of working with small business owners, what I realized is that they really typically don't think about this in the right way. Just not because they don't understand it, but just because nobody's really explained it to them, or they don't think about it. So, and I don't have this all written out for you, but what I'd like you to do is basically, think about it like this. So you have a decision to make, right, about whether or not to pay for automating something in your business. Okay. So the first thing that you have to know is you have to be able to do a cost, basically a cost benefit analysis or a trade-off analysis, right? So the first thing you have to do is you have to say, well, what am I trading? Well, I'm trading units of work that someone's going to have to do for this automation project that I'm going to pay for. And whereas I'm going to pay all up front for this automation project, I pay somebody or myself by the hour or, a salary to get the work done over time. So how do I weigh those two against one another? So let's just assume it's you doing the work, okay? So what you have to do first is you have to figure out, well, what is your time worth, right, per hour? So let's figure that out, okay? So get a piece of paper and write this down. Take the amount of money that you make in your business in a year, which would be the net profit in your business plus any salary that you pay yourself. Okay? So net profit plus your salary if you're the business owner, assuming you're the business owner. And then divide that by the amount of time that you spend on your business each year. Okay, so let's just really simplify, right? Let's just imagine that you spend 40 hours a week and you take 2 weeks of vacation each year. Most people don't, right? But let's, it's something way different, above or below that. But let's imagine, right? And so that would be, because that's easy math, that's 2,000 hours a year, okay? So take your net profit and your salary, right? Divide that by your hours worked, 2,000 hours, and that says what your time is worth right now. That's basically your effective hourly rate, whatever that number is. Okay, so now you know how much your time is worth, and now you can make decisions about automation and delegation as well, like whether you should hire a VA to do this, or whether you should outsource this, or what have you. Right? So let's just imagine that your time is worth $100 an hour, and that you found a way to automate a process that would free up 5 hours a week. Okay, so 5 hours a week, that's 250 hours a year. 5 hours a week is 250, I think, hours a year. So now let's say that this quote automation project that you were looking at, okay, would cost you $5,000. Okay, well, in that scenario, you would have just made a net savings in the first year, in the first 12 months, of $20,000 over what you are basically paying yourself to do that task. $20,000 of net savings after paying for the project. So that's I'm in the investment business. I own an investment advisor firm, right? So I look at everything in terms of return. That's a 400% simple return in a year. And not only that, it's a risk-free 400% return. So in an investment business, we always talk about risk-adjusted return, right? So I don't even know what that is, risk-adjusted. It's like infinite, even better. And of course, that's not it. The investment continues to pay for itself year after year after year. It doesn't just stop after a year. So really, it's really much, much bigger than that. And then if we take a step back from that and think about, okay, and so now you got 250 hours each year that you weren't, that you didn't have before. Where could you reinvest those 250 hours a year? Now, if all you do is turn around and just like spend that doing like more useless, wasted work that should have been automated or delegated or eliminated, right? Then that's probably not going to be all that. Those extra hours are not going to be all that valuable. In fact, they may be a wash. But if you invest those hours on things that in fact are meaningful and generate profit, like strategy and marketing and product development and things that are within your business anyway, your time's higher purpose, then how much more profit does that generate, right? And that's not obviously in the return number, nor is the joy of doing work that is actually having an impact instead of like something stupid that a software could have done for you. So anyway, you get my point, right? The bottom line is, not in every case, but in many, 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 many cases, automation provides a massive ROI as long as you are investing your time in the right areas, the recovered time in the right areas. And then once you understand this, what you understand is how you grow a business with less time and effort. Okay? Because so now this is like the really big picture thing of of running and growing a business, right? Because what you do when you find investments like that, and I'm not saying that because this is what I do, but this is how businesses are run. Okay, is you pull the money that you pull, P-U-L-L, pull the money you are spending on projects or people that have the lowest return. If you stack rank them from lowest to highest, right, and you've got a return like this, you find that money, right? You pull it from the lower return things and you double down on these things that have the 400,000% return, because these are foundational investments that if you do them first, they then amplify the return on all the other investments that you make afterwards. And the reason I know this is true is because this is the strategy that I used to build a company that was number 826 on the Inc. 5000 list of fastest growing companies. We were on the Inc. list for 2 years, at the same time that we were winning awards for customer service. It is my investment advisor firm that I own in Dallas. And it's the same strategy that I am currently employing to build the API guys. That's how you build a company. Now, maybe you don't want to build number 826 on the Inc. 5000 list of fastest growing companies. Does not matter. The concept is still the same, right? Is that when you are evaluating, these are not gut decisions. These are not, right? These are numerical decisions that you make about whether an investment makes sense. All right. So with that, I'm going to give you an opportunity to try out your newfound investment decision-making skills. And I want to show you what we've got for you, or what I've got for you. Let me see if I can find this. Hang on a second, you guys. I got like way too many pages open here. Bear with me for 2 seconds. This is what I want right here. So I have three different opportunities available for you. So well, I'll tell you, right? Like I know like how all these like kind of sleazy, slimy, I shouldn't say that. Okay, somebody's on the call. So these internet marketing guru guys, are gonna like tell you, they're gonna start with the highest price one and they're gonna work their way down and they're gonna tell you, oh, this is like a $50,000 value that you're getting for $1,000, and I'm not going to do that. All right. I'm just going to put it out here and I'm going to tell you what it is. And it either kind of works for you or it doesn't. So, because I just don't have time for that. So this is what I have for you. These are our pre-launch offers. If you want to look at them, you can actually find them on the API Guys launch offers. And so if I was like the internet marketer guy, I would start here with automation domination. And, this is a really cool value. It's not going to be for everybody, but this is a really cool thing for the right person, or people, I should say. Right. So what I'm offering you, with the full understanding of the state that these things are in, which is working, but not perfectly documented yet, but then this is wrong. Sorry about that. This is actually wrong. Let me go to the store. Sorry, but I'm not just offering you those. Here's your domination package. If you wanted to buy it, it would be here. So this package, what we are offering you. And this is wrong too. You guys, sorry about that. So here's what it is. This one is not only, oh no, here it is. Duh, I'm not reading my own stuff. And I wrote it too. That's terrible. It's all of those building blocks that I showed you earlier. Every one of them. I didn't even have time to add them up. I'm like, they're way over 6,000 if you just bought them individually. And of course, these prices are going up. Like those are all introductory prices until we can get all this stuff out. And the wrinkles ironed out, because they're worth way more than what I've got them listed at, if I do say so myself. So it's not only all of those blocks, every single one of them, but it's every single block of all the other blocks that we have on the back burner, waiting to come out for the next 12 months. Everything we release will be releasing for the next 12 months. And you can break this up in 3 monthly payments of $19.99. You get to vote on which of our blocks we release first. In all of these cases, you get beta releases, meaning we're going to let them out to you before they are actually all, perfectly documented, is really all that means. They are documented, but they just don't have the pretty pictures and the colored fonts and stuff, which is what takes me so long. So meaning you can have them like quickly. Free updates for the next 12 months on this one. 12 months of phone support, 12 months monthly group calls. And I remember I mentioned that I was going to be doing a Zapier IFTTT workshop. You get 3 seats in that Zapier IFTTT workshop for that if you want them. So like crazy value for what you can do with those blocks. Crazy value. The other one, which is similar but not exactly the same, is what I call the Jumpstart package. That is all of the blocks that are listed currently, not the blocks we are slated to come out after those. You can break that up into 2 monthly payments. Again, beta releases, free updates for a year, email support for a year, 6 monthly group calls, and 1 seat at the Zapier IFTT workshop. By the way, this workshop, for any of you who are at my 80/20 PHP class, it'll be sort of similar to that in terms of format and the way that I'm going to do it. If you want to take the 80/20 PHP class, it's in the Learning Center. And then the last one is you can just pre-purchase blocks. And by pre-purchasing them now, understanding that they're all, and I'm just being honest, right? I mean, everything may not be as well documented as I would like it, but they do work because we use them. And so we're going to be putting out idea guides and recipes and all kinds of things constantly for like giving you ways to use these things, all the ways that we use them. But you get a 30% discount now if you want to pre-purchase any of these blocks. You can do that with this coupon code PDEV30 on any of those blocks. Will now this is only good until all of these are only good until Saturday, 8/24/214. That's our pre-launch deal. So if you want to snap some of these up now, with knowing that you won't get them all delivered right away, but that you will get them, relatively soon, and that you get them at a discount, an already discount plus the 30% off, then for being our early adopters, that's what I've got for you. All right, so again, I know it's not like our, the polished internet marketer spiel, but we were up really late last night. So okay, what other questions can I answer for you guys? Got a few need to talk to you, so that's cool. Love to. So you guys know where to find me. Any other questions I can answer for you guys? One of the things that I've struggled with all along is to try to help people understand what these blocks can do. And it's a little bit of a double-edged sword because, I think it's pretty easy with the basic building blocks because you say, because, it's a little bit, everyone's used to Plus this or maybe even Zapier, Joey Novak's integrations, where you're used to having, used to them doing a thing. What I struggle with explaining to people is what you can do with any text anywhere or any date, any format, anywhere. Because the answer is like you can do almost anything. Like you literally can do almost you can almost do like whole code projects now as a developer with those 4 blocks if you're if you know how to use them and you're clever enough. And so it's without eventually we will, all of the idea books and stuff I think will help us do a much better job of explaining that, but they're so crazy powerful, and I have a hard time helping people really understand that. Just just real quick, so I'll just give you a use case that someone on this call actually came to me with the other day, and it's awesome, right? And Carlos and I worked through it last night. So here's the example. I know she won't mind. So she has a client who offers who sells her client does professional services. Let's just say this, in-house professional services, and she has an assessment. So her affiliates buy this assessment in blocks of 5, and they go out and sell these to customers. So the customer, the affiliate's customer, buys one of these assessments and does the assessment. So what she needs to happen is it's the customer, right, 2 levels down, who's actually placing the order. But the counter that says how many of these assessments she has is on the affiliate's record, right? So every time a purchase goes through for the contact, it needs to decrement a counter on the referral partner's record, right? Impossible right now and these are the sorts of requests we get every day and that people pay us for every day. Impossible right now with Campaign Builder, but it's a breeze with all you need is any text anywhere basically to get that done. So things like that all these use cases where because you can expose all the different records from all the different tables to Campaign Builder, suddenly are what like make all those kinds of crazy iterations possible. So a question: pre-purchase block is 30% off the listed price below. Yes, that's I was probably not clear about that. 30% off that price below, which is what I consider to be a deeply discounted price already, that will be going up as soon as we get everything organized. All right, any other questions? If not, I'm going to let you guys go. Going once, going twice, going 3 times. All right, cool. Well, again, thank you guys very much for being on the call. If you would like to, as a consultant, even as a developer, right, I will tell you, we built these things because they save us tons of time, right? So those of you who are developers, these are huge code shortcuts. For those of you who are users or consultants, these things will become your absolute go-to toolkit. I'm convinced of it. We'll just take a little bit of time to figure, and we will help. That's the last thing I should say. Actually, I will close with this. I am absolutely 100% dedicated to helping you guys learn and understand how to use these to do exactly what I said when I started out, which is to make more money with less effort, because that's what we're all about. That's what this is all about. And so I'm not just going to sell these to you and say, okay, or you're on your own. I am dedicated to that, and I will help you with that. So with that, I hope you take advantage of the opportunity. Thanks for being here, you guys. And if you have any questions, reach out to me. I'll be happy to answer them. Thanks.